office is still a relatively new department in city government. We were created at the beginning of 2010 by Mayor Stephanie Miner, and one of our primary responsibilities is the development of the city's comprehensive plan. As Ms. Lamondola mentioned, the city comprehensive plan was adopted in 2005, and now that it's been more than 7 years since that took place, and with new information available to us about our community, new census information and so on, we felt that it was a good time to revise the plan, and that's what we've been working on over the last 2 years or so in conjunction with the community, the Syracuse County Council, and yourselves, along with a variety of stakeholders and subject experts in the community, and that's what we're going to talk about this evening. We direct your attention to the chapters or components that we've developed as part of the Syracuse Comprehensive Plan 2040.
Mr. Maxwell, is it safe to say then for the record that with the strong desire to have feedback from the public, that the office would work as appropriate to distribute notices relative to the plan to approximately how many city residents, sir?
Well, for the purposes of this meeting and the public hearing tonight, we did send postcards out to each property owner in the city.
And that's in excess of?
About 35,000.
35,000 individuals. And the information is also available on the web?
That's correct.
And just in reference to the availability of the document online, just like to clarify the graphic, and while I'm speaking over here, we'll be referencing the presentation on the board. You'll notice the graphic there has a large circle and a series of smaller circles around it. When you do go online, that is represents the plan and the component parts, and you can click on each one of them to access the individual plan. There's been some confusion about that, so you can click directly on those to access the plan. With that, I'll begin with a description of the comprehensive plan, and then we'll segue into each of the component parts. The Syracuse Comprehensive Plan 2040 is an update, as you just heard, to a previous comprehensive plan 2025 that was done about 7 years ago. And that was largely, this update was largely undertaken due to recent events and demographic changes in the city. The comprehensive plan itself outlines a vision for our city's future and is focused on goals to implement this vision outlined in the comprehensive plan. The plan itself is now more focused on a broad range of municipal actions which the city can control. The previous comp plan was even more broad in items that it identified, and we really focused in with the comprehensive plan and the components on goals, actions, and implementation items that the city can control and ultimately affect. The plan format, again, I'll direct your attention to the board. The comprehensive plan format describes, the first part is a description of the vision for the future. The second part, it identifies policies, goals, and recommendations. And as you can see, there's a broad range that this plan includes, from capital, facilities, cultural assets, economic development, education, government modernization, housing, land use and development, public safety, sustainability, transportation, and utilities. Again, a broad range, but ones that the city can affect change over. The third part of the comprehensive plan is the implementation plan, outlining exactly how the city will go about implementing the plan. And finally, the largest part are the component parts of the plan, which again are those outlined 5 circles, which again you will hear more about shortly. These component parts support the vision of the comprehensive plan, and in addition to the 5 identified, it is our intention to include a pedestrian infrastructure and a parks and open space components in the near future. Public outreach and input. The extensive, this comprehensive plan really built upon the strong policies of that previous plan, and really, again, provided updates and added goals based on changes that have happened since then. Each of these components was presented to TNT groups and at other public meetings, and a great deal of feedback on issues broader than the specific component parts was received and integrated into this update. Additional and edited content was drafted and reviewed by an interdepartmental planning team, and the advisory committee members, with some of which were appointed by common councilors, and the mayor reviewed the plan and provided revisions based on their review. This feedback was integrated into the final version that you see in front of you. And finally, how the plan will influence policy and decision making. These, you'll notice the three bulleted points on the presentation. First and foremost, will guide the preparation of city operating and capital improvement budgets. Second, should guide the allocation of other other funds administered by the city, for example, CDBG and home funds. And finally, provide a common vision to guide all related planning documents. And essentially, as I mentioned, all of the other planning documents and component parts will support the vision of the comprehensive plan. With that, I'll turn it over to our first description of the component part, which is the bicycle plan.
Thank you, Owen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Planning Commission, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the public. Thank you all for coming out tonight and for showing your interest in planning in Syracuse. My name is Rebecca Klosner, and I'm the Sustainability Coordinator for the City of Syracuse. I'm going to be presenting the bicycle infrastructure component on behalf of Paul Mercurio, our transportation planner, who could not be here tonight. So, first of all, the purpose of the bike infrastructure plan is to develop a blueprint for the development of a vigorous bicycle network in Syracuse. Thank you, John. It highlights the benefits of cycling. It determines the proper infrastructure to use to add to our streets to make cycling safer in Syracuse, and it proposes conceptual corridor designs for each of our city's neighborhoods. The plan is formatted into 4 chapters. The first chapter makes the case for cycling in Syracuse according to its economic benefits, its health benefits, in terms of equitable transportation for all community members, for safety, and for community. The next part is an inventory metrics and maps, and that's based on assessment work that was done by Syracuse Metropolitan Transportation Council. They analyzed our city's main corridors according to their safety for bicycling, in terms of the connectivity to destinations, to other bike routes, and to design of the streets themselves in terms of steepness of those roads, the width, etc. The third part is a toolkit, and that contains prescriptions for infrastructure measures that can be added to our streets, such as bike lanes, such as sharrows, such as a cycle track, and that's what you see on University Ave now. The fourth portion is then neighborhood recommendations, and that combines number 2 and number 3 with the public input that Paul received during his neighborhood meetings to make specific recommendations for our neighborhoods. So Paul did extensive public outreach and input in developing this plan. He held 15 public meetings, including all of our TNT areas, and reached about 500 people overall. Then the draft plan was uploaded to the city website about a year ago. Paul has cataloged over 900 views to the website. 21 unique media stories were published, including TV, radio, newspapers, and Paul developed a bike plan communication list of interested citizens with nearly 100 people. So based on all of the input that he received through all these avenues, he revised the plan and re-released it on November 12th. So the plan will influence policy and decision-making in a couple of important ways. The first is that the Public Works Department and the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability staff will coordinate implementation of the bicycle network. Next, this plan will also guide future engineering studies, capital projects, and pursuit of grant opportunities to add
My name is Kate Alliter, and I am the preservation planner for the city of Syracuse as well as the public art coordinator. This component that I'm going to talk about right now is the historic preservation component of the plan. The purpose of the plan is to establish the city's preservation policy and it lays the groundwork for the revisions to the historic preservation ordinance, which I'll talk a little bit further about, with the ultimate goal of providing transparency and predictability to people who own or are interested in investing in historic resources here in the city. The format of the plan is similar to the other component plans. We start with an introduction, which is followed by an overview of the preservation program here. The next section lays out 3 goals and actions of the plan under the general headings of education, economic development, and process and implementation. The goals of the preservation plan include, the first goal is celebrate Syracuse history and heritage as embodied by its historic resources. This includes actions such as continuing the important documentation and evaluation of the historic resources in the city, developing educational programs and publications, developing an annual historic preservation award program, and possibly a marker program, just as a number of examples of the type of educational actions that we have proposed. The second goal is promote the economic opportunities and benefits of historic preservation. I would say some of the most exciting projects, as far as I'm concerned, that have been happening here in the city of late have dealt with the adaptive reuse of historic resources, including, for example, the extensive pipe block construction project that's going on right now, the expansion of the Landmark Theater. If you go up on the hill, you'll see the Hotel Schuyler, and there are a number of different projects. And so we want to continue to seek ways to promote the reuse of our historic resources and come up with incentives for people to take advantage of. And the third goal is prioritize preservation in Syracuse's land use regulations and city operations. And as I noted before, one of the primary goals of this plan is to lay the groundwork for the revisions of our preservation ordinance, which was written in the 1970s and adopted in the 1970s. And it may have been groundbreaking at the time, but it's now time to do a full revision and take a look at that. Under this goal, we also have some recommendations regarding staff training, qualifications. We're looking at the Landmark Preservation Board operations and making sure that the city department
is the last component we'll present tonight.
Rebecca, let me make one comment, because I interpret your approach in the last part of the presentation. My question might very well be to you, Mr. Maxwell, or being that you are approaching the end of a presentation, let me confirm what I assume to be what you desire, is to obtain feedback from interested parties who desire to provide feedback to the extensive and comprehensiveness of your plan. But being that we have a sizable number of individuals in the audience, my question to you, if you have a process specifically that you propose, then let's entertain it. If not, I know that historically when we've had such a large audience, we would either ask individuals to complete a card to express their interest, and once they've completed the card, will you summarize at this point the next steps thereafter, please?
Yes, if anyone wishes to speak about the comprehensive plan, either in favor or against, there are white cards at the back table underneath the clock. if you could fill one of the cards out and bring them up to the table, and then Dr. Clark calls persons wishing to speak in favor, you can line up towards the wall there. And we simply need the cards just because when there's so many people, it's sometimes hard to hear, and things are moving so fast that we want to make sure we get everyone's name spelled correctly.
In summary, for those of you in the audience, as soon as Mr. Maxwell and the other participants in the presentation completes their presentation, we will be asking for comments from the audience. And for all of the individuals in the audience who might desire to speak in favor, you will be asked to come first. Then, if there are individuals who desire to speak in opposition, you would be asked to come thereafter. But before either group, we want to ask the representative of the Common Council to certainly come first, because I do know that they've got another extensive agenda for this evening, as many of you have. And so I just wanted to pause to ask you, please follow Heather's guidance.
I need about 45 minutes more on the presentation. I'm kidding. 3 or 4 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Dr. Coward. Again, I'm Rebecca Closer, and I'm presenting the sustainability component of the comprehensive plan. The overall purpose of this component is to ensure the city's long-term viability. And the recommendations of the plan generally fall into 3 categories. One is to reduce the energy costs and demand in the city. Another is to increase the efficiency of the city's operations. And the third is to foster a healthy environment, both in a literal sense and in the sense of fostering healthy neighborhoods where people have access to pedestrian accommodations, green space, and amenities that they need in their everyday lives. So the plan is formatted. First, the introduction includes a background on a greenhouse gas assessment that was done in 2010 for the city at large, and goals that are recommended for greenhouse gas reductions in conjunction with that study. We chose goals after a lot of discussion that we felt were both feasible and responsible in that vein. It also includes a section on climate adaptation, recognizing that as important as it is for us to take all of the steps that we can to reduce climate change, also there's a certain amount of climate change that is inevitable, and we'll need to start preparing for that by building that into our planning. The rest of the plan, the bulk of the plan really, is 5 topic areas. The first is energy and green building, which is self-explanatory. Next is education, which explores ways that we can support the mission of the Syracuse City School District, as well as identifying resources for sustainability education in the community. The next is food systems, or as I like to think of it, equitable access to healthy food in the community. And the fourth is the natural environment, which includes both protection of Onondaga Creek, green stormwater management, reducing the urban heat islands, pedestrian infrastructure, things of that nature. Waste and recycling is the last, and that addresses ways that the city can more efficiently address waste and recycling issues, increase our recycling, reduce our waste, and also it addresses litter in the community and makes prescriptions for things that we can do about it. So each chapter contains 3 to 7 goals, objectives for each goal, and then recommended actions and suggested tracking measurements. Public outreach and input consisted of, first, forming 5 advisory committees to advise us in development of the plan. There are over 70 members of those committees, and the committees were made up of a variety of experts, experts from the academic world, ESF, and SU were well represented, experts from the nonprofit world, from other branches of government, the county, the school district, and even businesses who have a stake in subjects such as energy conservation and recycling. Public comments were invited on the plan via an article in the Post-Standard once that plan is up on the website. We held 8 neighborhood TNT meetings to invite comment and feedback from the public on this plan. We also did the same at a community-wide meeting held in City Hall Commons and at a focus core group meeting. So based on all of those comments that were received, the planning and sustainability staff filtered those and incorporated those into the plan and re-released the plan on October 1st. So the plan will influence policy and decision-making in the city in two main ways. It prescribes both actions and policy recommendations. So in the sense of actions, it will be the responsibility of the Bureau staff to work with other city departments in implementing those recommended actions. And in the case of policy measures, the Bureau will research best practices, best policies, and then draft proposed legislation for consideration by the Common Council. So that wraps up the components of the plan, and I will turn the microphone back over to Andy for some concluding remarks.
Thank you.
Just in closing, I'd like to thank the Planning Commission members for your participation in this effort. The Syracuse Common Council, we're joined by Councilor at Large Gene Kestner and Councilor at Large Kathleen Joy. I want to thank them for their involvement in this entire effort. We've had like 7 or 8 different Common Council committee meetings over the last year, and I really want to thank them for those opportunities. And really just say that this entire effort is really about articulating a clearer long-term vision for our city, and a vision that is for a stronger to be back in front of the Commission and the Council and the community in the years to come with additional efforts related to this. So, thank you.
As your references, okay. First, I compliment you and the individuals who participated on what, from all indications, appears to be a real thought-out plan and certainly a meaningful document. The living document, you would be formally representing the updates, and this is only for the record. How often will you be doing so?
Well, we suspect that we would have some additional components to add to the comprehensive plan approximately a year from now. Thereafter, it will vary. I think we'll have revisions to different components in the years after that. But I think it's hard to say. Hopefully, we'd be in front of the Commission and the community every year or two with some modifications.
Are there, my colleague, are there questions of either you, Mr. Maxwell, or either please?
Oh, yes, I have a comment. First of all, I think it was great that you sent out 35,000 letters. It's great that we have all this up on the web. The Syracuse population, as far as I can see, is we're still with a pen and the paper. To get involvement of the citizens that don't have access. You guys may think that everybody should have access to the internet. I think that we should have some sort of a good campaign of putting this in print and getting this information in an envelope in your letter that you can open up and read and have a document. So I encourage you that that's another format of drawing in individuals that have not been able to participate in the past for any reason, whether they can't get access to electronics or they may not be able to attend some of these sessions based on their age. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there comments from either of my other colleagues? Hearing none, Mr. Maxwell, thank you again. And before we ask for those individuals who might want to make comments in favor, let me please invite our city council persons to please come forward, if you will.
Thank you very much. I do hope I make it to the other meeting because it's important, but this is first in my heart, so most important to me. My name is Gene Kestner. I'm a councilor at large, and I am the chair of the Neighborhood Preservation Committee. So this falls under my committee. And I want to say everybody involved in this has the best of intentions, and that would include me. And I came not to speak for or against, actually. But I would be more against, because the action on our agenda is to lead agency status for the Planning Commission, which it's my intention that you would be the lead agent. But I have a concern about the seeker, the State Environmental Quality Review, being done before the plan is all the way complete. Now, I don't mean that it wouldn't be revised in the future, and I don't mean that it's not a living document, because to be a good document, and everybody has the best of intention of making it a good document, and I believe it is, it's not completed. And so to do an environmental quality review and leave out big parts, I want to know, will those parts, when they come before you in 2040, include additional sections? The impact of the land bank, new experiment, but we're going to get it up and running. It's going to be a major, we hope, a major step forward for our city. Pedestrian infrastructure, which is there, parks and open space, which is there, water and sewer infrastructure. Couldn't get down Jefferson this weekend. You know, we have that all the time. And additionally, and an aside, these water main breaks cause a tremendous loss for the building owners. I'm a member of Plymouth Congregational Church, and that, what happened to our church, it set us back. We're still not back. Bicycle plan is part of a larger integrated transportation plan. Bicycle plan's great, but you know, a larger integrated plan. Green infrastructure, we're doing amazing things there, spelled out specifically. And I appreciate the comments that were made, because it's very important to me. The city must plan for global changes that will most likely adversely determine many of our options. Although all of the consequences of climate change are not known, changes to the comprehensive plan should be made as information and technology becomes available. Once again, the living dynamic document. But the State Environmental Quality Review should not be segmented. It should consider the whole plan. And I believe at this time, I would live with commitment from the Planning Commission that when these big items come forward, that you do an environmental quality, good, sound look at that too, and see how it fits into the plan. I don't want to hold anything back. I want us to move forward. But I want us to move forward with the environment for the people, and for the planet, and for the city to be utmost in our minds. Thank you very much for taking my comments first.
Well, thank you. Before you leave the podium,
yes,
we are having to improvise here this evening.
Yes.
For a variety of reasons, but most importantly to get inclusiveness and certainly transparency.
Correct.
Since you're going to try to go out between the raindrops, make the next meeting, before you leave, let me ask Mr. Maxwell whether he would want to make any comments relative to what you've stated in your comments before you leave. If not, we can certainly get them later. Mr. Maxwell, what do you have?
I'll hold my comments to the end.
You will hold them and certainly...
And we were talking, we've had a number of meetings, and we're in agreement on 99.9%. I care about this one particular thing, that an environmental quality review will be done on, you know, the major portions as they come forward. You can't do everything at once. They've done a fantastic job. They worked very, very hard.
One of my reasons for asking him
yes.
questions at the end of the presentations is that I've done some analysis and research on yourself and knew that you were going to be speaking. So I was hoping that he did, as he did, answer the size of a number of your questions in advance, because I read and learned that you're very thorough and comprehensive yourself. So
sometimes too much, so. But thank you very much, and I, like I said, I appreciate your time and your service to the city.
Thank you. Ms. Joy.
Yes, thank you. I'm Kathleen Joy, Common Councilor at Large. I want to thank the Planning Commission for its involvement, and all of you who are here. This is a document that has been percolating, I guess. Land use and planning and comprehensive planning has been around for probably 20 years. We've been talking about it. We've been talking about zoning. We've implemented some things as a Band-Aid approach, and now it's refreshing to know that the time has come to put it all into one document that can be used for guidance. And as we've been saying, it is a growing document. As things are going to be identified, they'll be put into the plan. The dialogue needs to continue through the Common Council, through the Planning Commission, through the Department of Sustainability, all of that, because it's a document that is the Syracuse Comprehensive Plan, but it's not the Mayor's plan, it's not the Planning Commission's plan, it's not the County council plan, it's all of ours. And so once we have that outline articulated and approved, we can fill that in, we can move forward, we can identify something that maybe is outlined in here but doesn't have the meat and potatoes that go along with it. So as we move ahead, we will have more dialogue, there'll be a lot more public hearings, the common council will be approving this, and as Councilor Kestner had articulated, there will be other components to it, which we identify are somewhere down the road. Because once you have a comprehensive plan, things could change, circumstances could change. But we appreciate from the common council's perspective, having the opportunity to be a part of all of this, to hearing from our constituents, from all of you. We are all stakeholders in all of this, and we'll continue to work together to get that plan adopted. So I just wanted to thank everyone for being here, and just kind of second the notion that we're all involved in this, including the common council.
Joy, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Both of you. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, we'll ask all of
My name is Robert Haley. I'm an architect living at 137 Buckingham Avenue. I've been involved in my entire professional career for the past 40+ years here in the city and enjoyed it very much. I want to be very brief but concise at the same time. I've been vice president for Focus Greater Syracuse for 10 years and a board member for the AIA American Institute Central Chapter, as well as founding the not-for-profit Urban Design Center. All of the aspects of this sustainable plan and the Syracuse Comprehensive Plan are efforts that we support completely. That's Focus Greater Syracuse as well as the AIA. For the long term, as you mentioned, Councilor Joy, about how many years this has been going on. It's actually, everything that's in here has been part of planning for many years, but it's never been more in focus than now. We have the current era of sustainability, which raises the demand of integration of design and planning. Our staff, I think, is the best staff we've had in the city. They've done an absolutely excellent job on every component here. Focus Greater Syracuse might charge something, but these people are taking it up to make a plan. The bike plan, we worked with SMTC and the transportation aspects in terms of making this a better place for people to have healthy lives based on exercise and efficiency of transportation. That's what the bike plan has. There are so many parts of this, whether it's the existing use of housing stock or existing infrastructure that are in this plan. I think we want to support it. We want to say that the sustainable plan has something unique, and this is really a turning point for planning. The previous plan in 2005 was still kind of the old guard planning document being brought into a new age. But we're at the point now where this is really looking into the future of urban planning in cities like Syracuse, in the sense that sustainability and environmental health for its residents will drive many of the land use and physical property decisions. And that's where this plan has the beginning of design guidelines for individuals and health that will lead the planning decisions that we'll all make at our different levels of review. It'll help the staff, the more specific we are, all through the city employees, on what to do about buildings or infrastructures or pipes or bridges or parks or tree plantings. Further, as it develops, the sustainable aspects will get better and it will need to change. Sustainability really is integration of the diverse needs of planning. And in that sense, this will grow to the future and new elements will be brought in to be integrated, whether it's transportation priorities or health priorities. We support it very strongly, and I thank you for your consideration and assistance.
Mr. Haley, thank you. Heather and Jeff, the cards that individuals have, you want to, I think Mr. Haley maintained his.
Senior Transportation Planner with the Syracuse Metropolitan Transportation Council. I'm here tonight representing our group. We are the...
And we will ask you also if you would kindly give your address.
Okay, I actually live in the city of Oneida, 543 Main Street. I used to live in the city of Syracuse, however, I work in the city of Syracuse now.
Thank you.
Yep. The SMTC is a metropolitan planning organization, and essentially, in a nutshell, the federal transportation dollars are funneled through our office for both planning and capital projects. And the city is one of our member agencies. Our agency approaches transportation planning from a multimodal perspective, and of course we promote various options for transportation, including non-motorized, which benefits the health, environment, and infrastructure in the area. The Syracuse bike plan component of the comprehensive plan works towards that goal, and the SMTC supports the concepts and ideas put forth in this portion of the comprehensive plan. It meshes with some of the ongoing projects that the SMTC has. Right now, we've got a Sustainable Streets project, the Erie Canalway Trail project, and a DOT bicycle corridor project that we're working on. It also folds into our long-range transportation plan, which is the long-term view of transportation planning in our area. We have also actively participated on the steering committee for the land use and development plan, paying particular attention to the transportation components, offering our comments on that, and we're supportive of both the land use component as well as the bike plan component particularly, and the plan overall. And that sums up my comments. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Yeah, thank you so very much. Next individual, please.
Good evening. My name is Karen Johnson. I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of the Onondaga County Health Department. I also do not live in the city, but I'm here representing the health department tonight.
Your address, where?
Baldwinsville.
Alderville?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd like to speak briefly tonight to highlight the health benefits of both the bike master plan and the complete streets language found in the comprehensive plan, meaning the language that they would incorporate the needs of all users into any road design that was to be developed within this time period. I just want to highlight in 2009, the Centers for Disease Control released a report entitled Recommended Strategies for Control and to Prevent Obesity in the United States. Within that document, it lists both enhancing infrastructure to support walking and biking, as well as creating.
I am a member of the Camillus Erie Canal Park. I'm a docent there. And I'm also the representative from Catani, which stands for Canalway Trails Association New York, which is a sister of Parks and Trails New York. We are, they also sponsor the huge bike ride that goes right through from Buffalo to Albany, 400 miles every year, every July, the second week of July every year. I've ridden those 400 miles twice now. And when we come to Syracuse, it's a midway point. It's a big thing to come to Syracuse. We are so lucky to have all that we have here in the city. And that Waylock Building Museum downtown is a gem. So is our museum too in Camillus. The thing is, I want to say kudos to this comprehensive plan. I downloaded some of it today on the computer, and it is really nicely done, and I think it's wonderful. Also, the Syracuse Metropolitan Transit is amazing. They work with us so much on the bike trail. I can't stress how important it is. We have a huge gap between Camillus, where all of these bikers come, and believe me, it's a lot more than the 550 bikers that one week in July, I mean, they're coming all the time. There's a big gap here between Camillus and DeWitt. We need to pursue this bike path diligently through Syracuse. I propose going down Erie Boulevard West, which is a little, it's not that busy a street. We can easily do that. Takes you right into the heart of downtown. And everybody has to see, it's on the agenda every single year to go to the museum, the Waylock Museum downtown, which is a total gem. And they rave about that. Also, I proposed one year, and they did it. I called the Onondaga, the Salt Museum and St. Marie. They had costumed docents there in both of them. We had a bus going from the zoo, which is where we camp every year, all of 550 of us, and they took them there. They were totally impressed. They also wanted to see SU. They had a lot of people that said, well, you know, we never thought about it, but maybe our kids should be thinking about SU. And by the way, the mean age is 63 years old. There's not a young crowd that does this bike trip, and neither am I. They're a very affluent group of people. Most of them are retired, so they have the money to do this type of thing, and they've got the time. But it's not just that. I don't want to just focus on that one group of people, because even though it's a large group of people, it gets very little attention. And also, there's a lot of people that come, a lot of people from foreign countries. I've literally ridden with a lady from France, a whole group of people from Australia, a man from Germany and his cousins. So, I mean, it's really an interesting thing. This is a gem. Erie Canal is a total gem. And I was so thrilled to hear some lady say, that she wanted to put up some sort of information along it. I'm 100% for that. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for this, doing this comprehensive plan. I'm 100% behind it, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, so very much. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Don Hughes. I live at 157 Strong Avenue in the city of Syracuse. And I want to move the microphone first. Applaud the efforts of everyone who's worked on this comprehensive plan. This is a very impressive document, and I come to speak in favor of it, support of it. Andy Maxwell, the Bureau of Sustainability, and all the TNT groups, all the common councilors who worked on it, the citizens of this fine city. So, thank you all. I dare say I haven't worked as much on it as I perhaps should have, but in any case, I would like to agree with Gene Kessner's observations that there are some notable gaps here. Particularly, I would highlight the water and sewer issue, something that I personally worked on for many years. We have an aging infrastructure issue here. We have sewers that were installed throughout the Civil War era. Many, many miles of pipes that are crumbling. I would make that a priority in whatever capacity you can as the commission to motivate people to work on that. Having said that, I'm not sure that we need to delay the approval of this document. I would hate to see it slowed down. Sounds like the next pieces, which are already under plan, won't be around for another year, and water and sewers hasn't been mentioned. So perhaps the commission should move ahead. I wanted to offer some specific comments on the bicycle plan. That's something that I've been involved with for over 10 years. We had a group called the Syracuse Onondaga Cycling Coalition that motivated the Common Council here in 1990 to move ahead with the bicycle plan. It took a lot of doing. It got punted over to SMTC, and eventually we are here. And SMTC has been very supportive, very active.
I'm here to support. I'm so happy to hear Gene Kessner and then he speak about the importance of the sewers. The infrastructure of sewers needs to be dealt with for health reasons, and I don't see the environment being improved if you pretty everything up and then have the sewers stinking like they are at this time. And it's close to my heart because I'm one who gets very sick from it. Given my voice is not here totally, because it's one of the things, issues that sewer odors do. It can destroy parts of your body. And so I'm here to say it's a wonderful plan. I can see it being very beautiful. And I say yes for the program. But to me, the first thing needs to be on top of the agenda is to fix the sewers before you pretty up on top. It's going to be so much easier to get the things below proper before you build on top of that, so that you don't have to waste time and money to tear it apart just to fix and then still be doing piecemeal. So thank you very much. I'm in the time registered nurse.
Hello, my name is Jordan Ryan. I reside at 261 Stafford Avenue in Eastwood. I'm here to speak, of course, in favor of this, but specifically about the bike plan. I commute to and from work on my bicycle, and that's my only vehicle. And seeing that not only my daily route, but a lot of routes I would like to take in the city were going to be safer for me is really exciting. And one of the obvious benefits that I don't think we're mentioning is that this is going to make everybody want to stay in Syracuse more. Specifically me, I know I've recently graduated and I have a job here in Syracuse that I love. And I don't want to have to go somewhere else to feel that I can make a difference by riding my bicycle, eating local fruits and vegetables, different things like that. Seeing this entire plan, and specifically the bike plan, makes me excited to stay here in Syracuse. So I just wanted to thank everybody for working on that, and just wanted to share that with you guys.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Barb Rauscher. I'm a resident of the city of Syracuse. I have been fortunate to be asked for my input to this plan way back when Paul Driscoll started this whole process. And I just want to say, the historic preservation plan, the art plan, the talk about access to the nutrition. I happen to work with, on my day job, I work with folks who are pretty poor and don't have access to good food. I feel listened to. I am thrilled about this plan, and I just want to thank you.
I 100 Milford Court in Syracuse. And although I said I wanted to speak on behalf of the negative part, I want to start out by saying positively I'm very impressed with this plan and the comprehensiveness of it. And just the incredible work that's went into it, I can see that. But my concern are some of the words and phrases, I need clarity on them, and behind those words, what would the meaning be? Before I get in there, though, I want to mention the 35,000 postcards that went out. And you've heard of the letter of the law, the spirit of the law. Well, the postcards went out, and they gave the letter and the number that we will be discussing tonight. And that it was a zoning for the comprehensive plan, and said if you want more information, you can go to the zoning office. That was it. There was no other indication or a little outline or that it was on the internet. And I called. I said, I don't think this is fair. If this is important, you have not given this card enough information for people, and even requested another one to send out. But I think if they're going to go through the time and effort to send out 35,000 cards, it really should be more explanatory. I read the executive summary, and there were some phrases in there I was concerned about. It said the overarching goal is reducing greenhouse gas emissions. I'm not sure that was stated tonight that that is the overarching goal. And the city operations would reduce 40% in the community. They mentioned they could not legislate that, so they would do some other things like zoning revisions. Okay, that was my first question. What zoning revisions? And this plan has been thought about for a long time. Certainly the zoning revisions must be planned by now. In partnership with the Energy Challenge. I read a little bit about that, but I could like to know more about it. And other measures, such as, those were the three things listed. Under sustainability, it talked about land use, transportation, use of bicycles. Land use, I think, was explained a little bit tonight. Goals are continued for the community, the municipal community, and again, it mentioned energy challenge programs and smart growth legislation. I don't know what smart growth legislation is, but it was stated as though it's already set. Land use and bike use problems, let's see. They would advocate higher residential densities adjacent to commercial areas. That's in the executive summary, higher residential density. Next to, I don't want to live next to commercial. I don't know why, I don't understand what that means in there. More walkable neighborhoods is fine. I don't know where we don't have walkable neighborhoods right now. It seems to me you can walk every place except in the winter. And then not too many people are going to be walking anyways. And again, the goal is to create higher urban density with potential to eliminate the need for car trips. And I can understand that with emissions from the cars, but I don't know if that's a goal for everybody. I think when you're older, you're not going to be walking around carrying groceries home. You're going to need a car. Talk about the interaction of local, state, and federal agencies. I saw that word once. And because it was in there once, I wondered why it wasn't in there more times. Because it's federal agency once is to let people know federal agencies are going to be involved. I'd like to know which ones. Will money be received from federal agencies? Will the city then be dependent on that money to continue the program or continue developing the program? And what kind of federal input will there be? Will it be suggestions, advisory? In Westchester County in New York, it started out to be advisory. It then took over as we make the decisions, and people there found out they had no voting rights for their zoning. They lost their ability to vote for their own zoning. Whenever agency is involved, the federal government has taken over. One sentence in there was to foment smart growth, principally in the Syracuse metropolitan area. And I thought foment was a very interesting word. I thought I knew what it meant, and I looked it up. And it says to arouse or stimulate trouble or discontent. Was that a Freudian slip? I don't know. It had some graphs and charts talking about summary for the governmental climate action initiatives. And it talks about from 2002 to 2020, the vehicle fleet should be reduced from 11,000 something to 8,000. That's a reduction of 3,000 vehicles. That's great. I don't know how you do that. Street lights are going to be reduced from 6,800 to 4,400. It's 2,382. Will there be that many fewer cars that we don't need traffic lights? And water delivery facilities reduced from 1,280 to 972. That's losing over 300. A graph for community emissions. And that is by metric tons of emissions, looking at and comparing residential, commercial, industrial, transportation, and waste. Residential is the only one that continued to go down from 2002 to 2010. The other areas either vacillated or just went up. But then, when they talk about the community greenhouse gas total emission.
Excuse me just 1 second, if I may. A point of clarification, if I can. Is it your intent to be on the record to say that you oppose the plan, or are you, as I think I might interpret to say that you have some questions and or some suggested refinements to the plan? Which is it, both, can you, if you would?
I'm not sure right now how different those are. I'm opposed because I don't understand some of what is in here, and especially the involvement of, this whole regionalism. To what degree are different agencies from the city, the county, the state, the federal government involved, and where is the money coming from, and how much input, to what degree will that input be? Because we could lose our own control. So I don't want Syracuse to lose its own control.
My next comment, I ask if you be patient with me, because the thrust now is to attempt to facilitate a process. So I'm going to ask you if you, let's put a thumbtack in your comments for a moment. And Mr. McAvoy, my question to you are, and I'm searching here, certainly our presenter saying that she has a lack of clarity or sizable number of questions. But also know that we've also recorded a sizable number of questions already. So to facilitate having the clarity that she might desire or her questions answered, would you suggest that we make an arrangement to speak with someone specific, or let's proceed and you try to answer them all tonight?
I would be happy to speak with Ms. Pfeiffer and answer any questions that she has. We've spoken once. I'd be happy to speak to her again and answer any of those questions and provide that clarification.
And with that response, it's your prerogative. We have a public hearing. If you want to put all your questions on public record, then that's fine. I hear you saying, I think I hear you saying that Mr. Maxwell and or the committees will be more than happy to speak with you additionally. It is your prerogative if you desire to proceed with it. I do ask, though, then that dependent on the number of questions that you have, we're going to need to request that you restrict the amount of time, and certainly in respect for all the other individuals who are in the audience.
Yes, and I know you have quite a lengthy agenda tonight. I'll just mention, I think, one other thing, and that is involving the city and county. I remember a couple of months ago, I think it was, hearing that development in the county is going to be restricted until the land is first developed. In other words, you have to have sewers before you can put in another residential area, which I think stops the growth in the county and forces people to stay in the city. And in terms of regionalism, and especially federal regionalism, of forcing people from the counties, from the suburbs, back into the cities, that seems to fit. And I heard on the radio, someplace on the news, that this was a number of months ago, that the city was going to dissolve Syracuse, and then the county, this would be timed, and the county would dissolve itself as out another county and become Syracuse. And the county and the city would be one. And I mean, just financially, you can imagine, the transfer of money and the movement of money, and certainly the control of people and where they live. And if you're really working to put people in the city, and not in the county, this plan seems to fit right into that. Maybe not intentionally, but it seems to. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. The next individual who might desire to speak in opposition, please.
My name is Gordon Burrow, and I live on Wilkinson Street here in Syracuse. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Appreciate that very kindly. We're talking about putting in bike lanes. Well, there's been a bike lane put in on North Geddes Street, about a block from my house. So I've had the opportunity to observe this in use. And I've noticed, number one, it ties up traffic because we've gone from 4 lanes down to 2 lanes with a turning lane in the center. Plus, on the outside edge, you've got your bike lanes. Well, if the idea is to reduce traffic, I suppose that'll come. But the big problem is the bike lanes are not being used correctly. Now, I realize that professional cyclists, like some of the people who have spoke here, who they obey the rules of the road, and you're safe that way, much the same as I was growing up. But here we have the average person traveling the wrong way against traffic, posing a hazard when they don't stop.
Thank you. My name is Bob Hale. I live on Russell Place. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you for sending out the card. Even though sending out a card with some really cryptic title Z2755, you have to dig at the website to have a clue what in the world this is. A lot of people have no clue. We got a lot more people here. I don't know if it was part of the plan or not, but if you dig into the words, keywords, when you start reading into it
words through the whole thing. Now, the UN Agenda 21 was in 1992. A bunch of countries got together and they wanted to change the world. Now, a bunch of countries ratified it, but here in America, they knew they couldn't get it through the Senate, so what they're doing is they're quietly coming into communities. And surprise, they're trying here. Now, there's a little community in Arkansas, about 1,400 people. It's a farming community. And they put these bike lanes in there. They put these walking lanes in there. And they basically shut down the little town. The farmers can't bring their produce into town. The supplier of Agway cannot go through their normal routes to the farmer. They shut down large parts of the town. This idea of a bike lanes and special routes downtown, I used to deliver downtown. It's rough enough now, but if you're going to start wanting to change the routes, special little side alleys that gets filled with snowbanks in this town, you got oversized trash barrels and whatnot, it's not going to work. You're going to start shutting down businesses because people are not going to bother with it. They're not going to come downtown because it's a hassle. People don't like coming downtown now because it's a hassle. You add this, it's going to be even more of a hassle. Okay? This idea of all this walking stuff, it gets snow here, it's cold here, no one wants to walk. The reason why they're walking on the sides, on the roads, because no one cleans the sidewalks. We already have laws now that they're not even enforced. And you're going to enforce more. This open-end plan is a moving target. Don't like that. Don't like this open-end plan. We're going to add something here. You go, okay, we're going to add, oh, but we're not going to take that away. We're going to add something. Oh, well, when no one's looking, we're going to add something. Don't like that. And I know something here. The majority of the people are pro. The majority of them live outside the city. Okay? They come into work, maybe, and then they don't live in the city. And also another part of it is all in favor because they're part of some organization, like architecture, or something to do with the health department. Great and wonderful, but they ain't the real people who live here. Got to deal with this. This land use, changing stuff. I looked at your current land use, and then you got your future land use. Okay, one example. There's a cemetery down by Webster's Pond. Okay, I got family buried there. I look at your proposed. It turns into green area. What are we gonna do? Dig up all the graves? Doesn't look good to me. This rail line idea. I don't know if anybody remembers this thing called On Track. A lot of business. No one liked it. No one used it. You want to do it again? Not a good idea.
Thank you, sir.
And this notice that went out, probably went out to 100, maybe, I don't know, 40,000 residents. We have about 69,000. And this notice went out to inform people to come to this to find out what's going on. And while I had an opportunity to look at the comprehensive plan, there's some decent things there. I heard Kathleen Joyce say that we are all a part. Well, who's the we? And that's what I question, the we, because you were able to send this out to a lot of residents, and residents showed up, some people left. But the we aren't a part of that comprehensive plan. It's the few. So it's not the we. That's one. Second, the city, and it was mentioned by Gene Kessler, Councilman Kessler, the city's pipe is over 100 years old. We have some of the worst piping in any metropolitan city in the United States. But yet we want to beautify and change the infrastructure above. But we don't want to deal with the issue below. That's sort of an oxymoron. Because that problem is not going to go away. So you'll spend money to change what we see above. But we won't deal with the issue that's a health issue, that's a corrosion issue. We won't deal with those issues. But the most important part for me is individuals, and the gentleman said it. He was just speaking a moment ago. Individuals who came and spoke in favor of this. And might I add, I'm in not going to affect how we operate. You know anything. You may be part of it because you're interested, because you're part of some group, you're part of some committee, you work in the city. You don't live in the city. You don't pay no taxes in the city. You don't invest in the city. So, what's your real interest? But the last thing I want to say is that, and I know you work hard, good guy. You haven't included the people in the city in this comprehensive plan. Their voices are not heard. They have no say into that process. None. So while Kathleen, Councilwoman Joy said, it's not the we, it's the very few. You have the ability to send these postcards out to tell people to come. You have the ability to send a postcard out and tell people, hey, we got a committee coming together. And we want to discuss these things that will affect and reflect the city of Syracuse. And we want your input. We would like it now. I know you sent out emails to people. I got it because I'm active and I'm on the list. Not everybody gets, but everybody got this postcard. People who never got an email about any committee that was me. They didn't get an email about when the meeting was going to take place or what was going to happen at that meeting, but they got a postcard. You know, so if you're going to attempt to move to do something that you consider that is comprehensive and that is a reflection of the people, let it truly be a reflection of the people. This is not. Thank you.